Welcome, everyone. If you don't mind going ahead and putting your name, title, and location, and how you would like your coffee in the mornings in the chat as we wait for everybody to come in. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you. If you don't mind putting in your name, your title, your location, how do you like your coffee in the morning? And it's nice to see so many people from throughout the Central Coast, from Ventura to San Luis Obispo to Santa Barbara, Monterey, San Benito, Santa Cruz. Really nice to see everybody.
What? Wait till that one starts fucking suing the district. Pasa era. ¿A qué se les?
All right, we'll get started in just about a minute. I see there might be a couple people still coming in. If you haven't done so already, please put your name, your title, and your location, and how you like your coffee in the mornings or throughout the day. Many of us drink coffee throughout the day. So, how do you like your coffee? Everybody has preferences. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Manuel Colon, and I'm the Chief Program Officer for Inflection. It's so nice to have you here. I'm really enjoying our partnership with the Regional Technical Assistance Center from the Central Coast, located in Monterey County, Office of Education. And so it's really nice to have you here. This is our second workshop in a series of workshops. And so hopefully you were able to attend our first workshop that we recently had. And hopefully you'll be here for our future workshops that we'll be having coming up. And we'll talk a little bit more about them in a minute. But before we get started, I just want to, first of all, thank and introduce our amazing Santa Clara, our Monterey County Office of Education RTAC team. And if you don't mind just raising your hand so people can see you, if they're able to see you. We have Dr. Ernesto Vela, we have Junue, we have Jennifer, we have Herminia, and we have Ashley. And helping me on the technical side from the Inflection team, we have Alexa, we have Elise, we have Michelle, and we have Ling. So you have a big team here with us today to really help and support the great efforts that you are making as you begin to implement the community schools framework. So again, welcome and thank you for being here today. So for our agenda, for today, we want to really focus in on really the mindsets of what we are here to do. The first one is really thinking about our shared vision for readiness. As we think about the outcomes of the community schools, we really have to be mindful of two things. First of all, that this is a whole child approach in terms of how we're supporting students and families, but also that we are preparing them for life, right? College, career, and life success. And so when we think about that ultimate outcome of ensuring that when they leave our campuses, that they are ready for college, career, and life, what does that mean? So we'll walk through a protocol, not only to help us ground ourselves in what that means in our future work, but also something that you might be able to do back at your sites in helping to frame what that vision for readiness is for our schools and for our students. We're going to dig deep on the four proven practices that are part of the framework. If you were here the last time, you saw that we went deep with the four pillars. And so today we're going to go deep with the four proven practices. We really want to make sure that as you're developing either your planning grants or as you're developing your implementation plans and really getting off to a good start, we want to make sure that you have a strong foundation and looking at the four proven practices as examples for what that means. And then finally, we really want to be reflective about family and community engagement. And what does that mean? As you know, it's one of the pillars. As you know, it's a big component of the implementation of community schools. And so I want us to have a dialogue about what we're currently doing and celebrate what we're currently doing, but also look at what are the best practices as we begin to engage our family and community. And so that's the agenda for today. We have a 2 hour block. I know it's going to go by really fast, but we really want to be mindful of meeting your needs and really ensuring that you're engaging throughout the process. Our objectives for today are really to look at a protocol. Look at the protocol for developing that shared vision for readiness and what that means in terms of the implications for our work. I want us to think about that is what we're going to ground ourselves in. When we think about the day-to-day work and implementation for community schools, it has to be grounded on this shared vision for readiness and what that means. So one of the objectives is that you'll walk away with this protocol as an example for you to use and utilize, but also in how to frame what's the purpose of community schools. The second piece is really to develop a shared understanding of the four proven practices. There's a reason why they were selected as proven practices in terms of the community schools framework. And so we want to make sure that we have a clear understanding, but also that we're able to take away from others in the room because the answers are here. The answers are within us and the work that we're all doing back at our districts and our sites and our county offices to take away some of these best practices in terms of what we can do to better support and better implement our community schools framework. And then really assessing our readiness for family and community engagement. Many of us are in different parts. Many of us have done an amazing job and have done a lot of work in family and community engagement for the last 10, 15 years. Some of us are just beginning that work. And so we want to self-assess kind of where we are in that process. We might be at the beginning stages, and that's okay. But some of us may be further ahead, and we can learn from each other. So we really want to assess that piece as well in family and community engagement. And like I said, the previous workshop and this workshop really are the foundation for our implementation of community schools. And so as we begin to build, things hopefully will become clearer and clearer. And we know that that's part of the understanding. And we also have to think about that we all have local contexts. So as we have these conversations And as we begin to develop our action plan, as we begin to develop our goals for the implementation, that we put the our local context as the lens for the work that we're doing moving forward. So as we begin to engage, I want us to be mindful of how we engage, that we are really thinking about creative courage, and that, you know, what that means is really being present and engaged. We know that this work is tough. We know that it can be cumbersome. We know that there's a lot of information out there. And so really being mindful that you know, we have, you know, a hard work ahead of us, but that through our collective mindsets and through our collective engagement, that we will make it work and that we will make it successful. And so being very intentional with our engagement, being very intentional with our support of each other, I think together we definitely can make this happen. We want to be part of the crew, not the passenger during these workshops. And what that means is that you are actively engaged and participating, and not passive. And the reason for that is that the more we can engage, the more we can learn from each other. And as you know, with community schools, this is all new. It's all new to all of us. And so how do we ensure that what we are doing is meeting the needs of our students and families? And at any time, put questions in the chat, in the Zoom. There's people that are monitoring the chat. And so if they are able to answer it, they will. If not, they'll bring it to the group, and we will, you know, be able to hopefully answer the questions that come up. So please engage in the Zoom as necessary, especially if anything comes up. We will also have an opportunity to be in breakout groups, which is one of the things that many of you shared in the last workshop, that you would like more time to be with each other and to engage with each other. So we'll definitely give you that time to be in breakouts and to have community in smaller groups and be able to have more conversations. So really looking forward to that. But as we ground ourselves, I want to make sure and acknowledge that not all of us were in the room at the last workshop. And so we want to make sure that if you weren't, that you are brought up to speed with some of the themes that we discussed and some of the things that we shared, just so you have an understanding. We also, in the resources that we're providing to you, we have the PowerPoint and the resources that we shared. So it's very important that if you do want to go back and either review the stuff that we did, or you didn't attend and you want to kind of go through it, it's also nice to be able to have that accessible to you. So again, thank you for being here, and we're looking forward to a great workshop today. So to begin and to ground us from the last one, you know, when we think about the community schools framework, this quote that comes directly from the framework is always really important to share. To meet the current moment, it is important not to view community schools as a one initiative among many that are currently being funded in California districts, but rather as an equity enhancing strategy that aligns with and can help coordinate and extend a wide range of state, school, and district initiatives. This is pretty powerful because when we think about the intent of the law, this is at the heart of the intent of the law, that community schools should not be something else, something separate from what you are currently doing. It really is a way to unify and to bring things together in the great work that you're doing back at your sites, districts, and county offices. And so think about it as an aligning mechanism. Think about it as everything that you're currently doing under one umbrella. Everything should be able to align with the framework. And so congratulations to all of you who have received the grant, or hopefully will be receiving the grant really soon, because this will really be a catalyst for you to start to align your work. In the last workshop, we really focused in or zeroed in on the 4 pillars, but I wanted to start with this bigger framework of you know, community schools and a clear understanding of the why behind community schools. And at the last workshop, we started with the why because it really helped us to ground ourselves on why this work, why is this important, why is the state supporting this initiative with $4.2 million. And so in the chat, if you don't mind thinking about and processing in a word or a phrase, defining for yourself what community schools is. So I'll give you about a minute to in the chat, in a word or a phrase, define community schools as you know it or understand it. Yes, whole child, collaborative leadership, access, equity, family support, union, whole child approach, connectedness, united support, collaborating with neighboring agencies, absolutely, equity enhancing strategy, integrated, drive students and family engagement to the shared participation, making supporting the whole child. Absolutely. Beautiful. As you can see, community schools is very broad, and it's nice to see the descriptions of what we believe and intent to achieve within community schools. And so I think it's really important for us to always know the why behind the work that we're trying to do. At the end of the day, it's how do we ensure that our students are being successful? How do we ensure that everything that we do within our school that's integrated, that's allowing our students to be successful? We're being mindful of the challenges, but we're being mindful of the assets that our students are bringing to allow them to be successful. And so that whole child approach is truly at the core of community schools. But in order to be able to do that whole child approach, we need to make sure that of all of the components that make up that whole child approach, all of the components that make that child successful, that includes the classroom, that includes the community, that includes the resources, that includes how do we ensure that we're all working together collaboratively in the things that we're intending to the child, for the child to be successful, that we're not duplicating services, and more importantly, that we're not working in silos. Because I think that's another challenge that we're seeing with community schools implementation. We're still working in silos. So how do we work collaboratively, cohesively, to ensure that our students are getting the best of what we have to offer and the resources that are out there? So being very mindful of the intent, and being mindful of the framework that we're trying to achieve. So I invite you that as you are working with your sites, as you are working with your teams, always start with the why. Why community schools? Why, what's the intent? And what are we trying to accomplish as we begin to implement? So with that, the last time we really focused in, as I said, on the 4 pillars. And as you know, with community schools, you do have a framework, and the framework is very clear in terms of what we are being asked to do. But the research and the history come back to the 4 pillars as being the cornerstone, the foundation for what makes community schools successful. And in the last workshop, we talked about a very important article, 20 Years, 10 Lessons, that really help to describe community schools. And if you haven't read that article, I invite you to read the article. I invite you to go back and annotate it, share it with your teams, because it really lends to it being a foundational article in terms of information and the things that have been learned. This is 20 years of the people that have been doing this great work for a long time. And so thinking through that article, it really helps us and grounds us on the work that we will be embarking on. And so, the research came back to these four pillars as being integral to implementation of community schools. And so integrated student support, really looking at the support for students from all angles, right? We're talking about the academic, the physical, we're talking about the mental health services, we're talking about all of the different components that really support the student's success. And so that's one of the pillars in terms of community schools, the integration and alignment. The second pillar is that family and community engagement, because we're talking about the assets of the students, but we're also talking about what are the resources that exist that we can tap into in terms of our community and our student and our families. Collaborative leadership and practices for educators and administrators. The concept behind collaborative leadership really is about making sure that we all have equal voice in the success of our students. So equal voice is very, very important. That collaborative leadership really is about us all working together to find the answers to the issues or the concerns or the challenges. And collaborative leadership really is about all of us equally being responsible for that success. That is not only on the school, it's not only on the parents, it's not only on the community, but it's together. We are working together to make sure that we are providing the best plan for our students' success. And then extended learning time and opportunities. One of the concepts that I hope that you walk away with in terms of community schools is that we're talking about college, career, and life success. So if we truly believe that we want our students to be successful moving forward beyond our school walls, then we need to provide opportunities for our students to be successful. That means providing opportunities for college and career understanding. We're talking about internships. We're talking about enrichment opportunities that our students would not otherwise have if we didn't provide that for them. And so that extended learning time and opportunity is critical for exposure, for equity, all of those pieces that help us develop a successful adult. And so when you think about that pillar, think about what you're currently doing and making sure that you're accessing all of those resources that you already have, and ensuring that your children and your students have access to that. And then if you're doing an assessment of that and you're finding that there's something that's missing, this is where you as a team become creative in terms of how are we going to engage agencies, how are we going to create programs that really extend our students. And so again, these are the four pillars. These are the foundation of community schools. We know that you are very aware of them and that you've already been really processing them, but I hope this gives you an orientation and understanding, clarity in terms of the implementation and the why behind the community, why the four pillars. So with that, this is a great quote that also comes from the framework. The four pillars are fundamental to the success of community schools. Individually and collectively, they serve as scaffolds or structures, practices, or processes that support schools to instantiate the conditions and practices that enhance their effectiveness and help them surmount the barriers to providing high quality learning in low income communities. I think that again, these are the structures, but they're also the foundation in terms of if we're truly going to make change and if we're truly going to transform our schools, that these become that foundation and that catalyst for that change. So what I want you to think about now, and I know that you're here because you're either a planning grant or you're an implementation grant. That there's a lot of things that are probably spinning in your head and you've been processing and thinking about. one of the things that I hope you take away is that we try to shove everything in at once, right? And we feel like everything has to be done all at once. And this analogy really helps us to be more thoughtful and more intentional. That, if we take the large rocks and the small pebbles and the sand and we try to shove it in all at once, it's not going to fit. It's not going to fit because we're trying to do too much. And so what I want us to think about and know about that there's a sequence to this implementation. There's a process to this implementation. That if we put the large pebbles in, or the large rocks in first, and then we put in the pebbles, and then we put in the sand, then guess what? It's all going to fit. And so what I'm saying is I'm giving permission for you to be intentional and to think about, the sequencing of how we're progressing through the implementation, and that it's not all at once. It's really about the intentionality. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to think about. The second thing I want you to think about is that this is sequential, and when I'm thinking about the steps, I'm thinking about that we do have very clear delineation in terms of how we want to implement. And you guys are all at the beginning stage of that implementation. You're at an awareness stage. You're at a stage where you're collecting and doing your needs assessment. And so when you think about it that way, you're laying a foundation to be strong in your community schools. And so as you lay the foundation, you begin to surface the needs. You begin to surface the things that are making a difference or can make a difference. You're aligning all of your initiatives, your LCAP to your SIPSA, to your district goals, your county goals, whatever those things are. All those things begin to align. That's part of your foundation. Once that is taken hold, then you begin to really be thinking and intentional about your setting your actions and taking your actions. And as you're looking to those actions, and as you're looking to making that difference and being with intentionality, you start to then see the difference, and you start to see how it begins to impact the classroom. And when you see it impacting the classroom and you're seeing the transformation in students, you begin to see results and you begin to see the impact. And as you do that, you begin to do your continuous improvement. What's working, what's not working, what we need to refine. And as you do that, you begin to establish your goals and you begin to establish sustainability. So I want you to think about it that there is a progression to your implementation, and that you are at a stage where you're beginning to just lay the foundation. And so if you think about it from that perspective, it's much easier to manage, much easier to handle. So that's the whole concept behind the sequencing, and that's the whole concept behind really thinking about the intentionality of your implementation. So with that, I want to go back to what I said at the beginning, that a primary goal of community schools is helping us to think about what are the outcomes that we want to achieve for our students. What are our hopes and dreams for our students when they leave our schools? The goal of community schools is for our students to be college, career, and life ready. That's the ultimate goal. We want them to have all the opportunities possible for them to be successful in life. That's the goal. So we know that, then how do we backwards map to high school, to middle school, to elementary school, to TK and pre-K? All of that, is what we're charged to do. And so I want us to really ground ourselves on this concept of future readiness, our concept of really what is it that we are trying to achieve with our goals. Okay. So I want to take us through what we call the future ready protocol to help us to ground us on that. So with that, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to think about a graduate ready. So I want you to describe in the chat a student that is walking across the graduation stage that is ready to successfully transition and navigate the world. And so I want you to list in the chat all of the characteristics, the hopes and dreams for that graduate graduating across the stage. What are those characteristics? What are the skills? What are the mindsets? What are the behaviors that we want our students to have when they graduate, when they walk across that graduation stage? Take a couple minutes and put them all into the chat. Beautiful. What are the characteristics, the skills, the mindsets, the behaviors that we want our students to have when they graduate, when they walk across that stage? Responsible, confident, feeling accomplished. Beautiful. Models the 5 C's. Excellent. Problem solver. Open-minded and respectful. Physically and emotionally healthy. Yes. Resourceful. Strong sense of identity. Amazing students. Balance. Empathy. Yes. Problem solver. Curious. Yes. I love that. Risk taker. Flexible. Yes. That's amazing. Open-minded. Yes. Excited about the next phase. Yes. Resilient. Empowered. Thank you. As you can see, that's just amazing, you know, our hopes and dreams, right? And I think that that's where we want to start. We want to start with all of the characteristics, yes, confidence, all of the characteristics and skills and mindsets and behaviors that we know are going to make our students successful. And so if we think about that and we really truly are mindful of what we're building, right? What we're building and what we're gaining in terms of our students, um, I want you to now think about, from all of those characteristics that you thought about, what is the one characteristic that has made you successful throughout life? What is that one characteristic that has made you successful throughout life? And obviously, we're all here for a reason. We've all had successful lives in school and everything else. So, what is that one characteristic that has made you personally successful?
And go ahead and write that in the chat.
Yes, write that in the chat. Ability to build relations, team player, team group. Yeah, love oneself, compassionate, self-awareness, perseverance. Yes. Want to make sure that everybody puts something in the chat. What is the characteristic, skill, mindset, behavior that has made us successful? Beautiful. Grit. Mhm. Deliberate practice. I love that. Beautiful. Yes, willing to learn new things. Absolutely. Excellent. So as you can see, we have to be mindful of all of the different characteristics that have made us successful. And as we think about those graduates walking across our stage, thinking about all of these characteristics that we're trying to achieve, embed, grow within our students. So thinking about how do we do that? How best do we do that in our practices? If that is truly our vision for readiness. So thinking about when we think about our vision for readiness, when we think about our college ready, life ready students, we have to think about it from all of these characteristics. And so as you think about with your teams and you begin to develop this shared vision for readiness, do the practice, do the mind thinking of what does this mean? What are those assets that we're developing within our students? What are those characteristics that we expect and that we want to have that they develop throughout our schooling or with us to get to that level and to ensure that they're going to be successful. And so when you create that, you begin to develop a shared vision for readiness. You begin to develop those characteristics that have made us successful and we know are going to make our students successful. And so when you do that, you begin to ground all of the work in that going through. So we've done some research for probably the last 15, 20 years around college and career readiness. And it all comes back to what we call or what we think of as the four keys. And we attribute it to that there's four areas that our students really develop, skills that they develop throughout. And if they develop all the four skills equally, they're ready. And so this is, like I said, 15 to 20 years of research done by Dr. Dave Conley out of the University of Oregon. And if you read some of his work, his latest one was the four keys of college and career readiness, which this is based on. And so when we think about it, the first key is think. And within that, it's really about that the students need to be thinking critically and being problem solvers and really thinking about the way that they think and processing the way that they think. The second key is knowledge or know. We think know. And within know is where we have our content knowledge. So when we think about a traditional schooling, we think about us learning very practical standards and content that again, we develop and we move and we articulate throughout our schooling. The third key is act. And act really is about ownership of learning and self-management. It's really about thinking and processing and owning, how best to learn, having choice in some of that learning, but also really thinking about how best to approach our learning. And then the fourth key is go, which is navigating life transitions. And many times, we call this privileged knowledge because there's certain things that are not taught in schools, but somehow people know this because maybe their parents went to college or maybe others have taught them that. And so what we're arguing is that some of these things should be taught intentionally within our school. And so what the concept that I'm trying to convey in this is that by thinking about all of these four keys, think, know, act, and go, together we're preparing our students for this college, career, and life success concept. Um, I want us to take a minute and think about the skill that has made you successful. Where would it fall in one of these keys? Would it fall under think? Would it fall under know? Would it fall under act? Would it fall under go? So take a minute and in the chat, um, state which of these keys best describes your characteristic, your skill, your mindset, your behavior that has made you successful. So where would it go?
And for those of you participating, just type in the number that relates to the category that best fits for you so that the Stream Alive can capture it on the screen.
So 1 for think, 2 for know, 3 for act, 1 for go. Beautiful. Did everybody get a chance to state? Excellent. So as you can see, most of us are either a 1, which is think, act, or go. And we've done this hundreds and thousands of times with different groups, organizations, small groups, large groups. And this result is actually very, very common. This is very normal. And the reason for that is that, when we think about what has made us successful, there are these things that we can't measure, right? We can't measure. We call them soft skills, we call them power skills, we call them things that really, are part of an experience. And so they really fall under the think, act, and go. What we spend most of our time in schools, though, is we spend most of our time with know. And we're measuring constantly the know, right? The content knowledge. And we're measuring and we're doubling down on the know. And so I would argue that as we think about our implementation, as we think about our outcomes that we want to achieve, college, career, and life success, that we reframe that we reframe what we're trying to measure. If we truly believe that in order for our students to be successful past graduation, then we measure and we focus on those skills that are going to make them successful. And so that's something to reflect on, to ponder on, to think about. How may we infuse these skills into our lesson design? How may we infuse these skills into our practices in our school communities to really reinforce the skills that we want to see in our students upon graduation? So that's an important piece. But we have to start with a collective vision for readiness. We have to start with a collective, meaning everybody that's in the room, in terms of what are those goals and aspirations? What are those critical things that we want to think about our students? What are those characteristics, those mindsets, those behaviors that we want our students to have upon graduation? We start with that. We focused on what has been that skill that has made us successful. That begins to create that shared vision for readiness. And then that begins to then help us identify how do we reinforce that in everything that we do, if that's truly what we want to achieve with our students. Are we good? Awesome. So that is what we're going to anchor ourselves on as we move forward and as we think about the work with community schools. If we know our outcome, if we know where we're headed, if we know our vision, then we can begin to do the work. And so again, let me just repeat that. If we know our vision, we know our outcomes we're trying to achieve with our students, then we know where to begin to do our work, the day-to-day work in terms of what we are doing and the actions that we're taking in meeting that goal. And so I wanted to just think about a little bit before we put we put you in the breakout groups to have more conversation, is this concept of liberatory design mindsets, that when we think about the collaborative process, that we're all in it together, that we all have equal voice, that we all really be mindful of how we are engaging, and that not only do we all bring something to the table in terms of our assets, but we all have different perspectives, and those perspectives are important in what we're trying to achieve, because we're all interconnected, interdependent. And so it's important for us to be mindful that in this collaborative structure, collaborative setting, that we all have a say in the outcomes that we're trying to achieve, and we all benefit from those outcomes that we're trying to achieve. That's the first piece. The second piece is how do we work to transform power? And as we think about community schools and we think about that collaborative structure or leadership structure, that the power is shared, and we're more powerful together than if we assign power to somebody or something. And so this whole concept of transforming power, it really is about that together we can go further, and together in making sure that we all have that equal voice in that decision making, that we all are able to not only own that decision but support that decision moving forward. And so these two concepts really in that engagement really are about not only the work that we're going to be embarking on as our community school implementation, but also in all the conversations that we're trying to create. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alexa to walk us through the groups that we're going to be working with.
Yes, yes. Hey, everybody. I hope that you all are enjoying the workshop so far, and we're about to get active, okay? You all said that you wanted to collaborate with one another. You wanted to engage. Well, we took that feedback, and y'all about to engage with one another along with us. So we can go on to the next slide. All right, so what we're about to participate in is a little thing called stations, okay? I'm sure you all are familiar with that as educators. So we're going to break everybody off into 4 different groups, okay? And you're gonna stay with your group, but we're gonna break you into 4 different groups. Each group is gonna spend 10 minutes engaging in an activity that will deepen your understanding of the 4 proven practices. And each station will be facilitated by one of the inflection staff. Okay, so at the end of the 10 minutes, your inflection facilitator will switch. So enjoy your time with them, but you only got 10 minutes. So get everything you can out of them in that 10 minutes. You all are going to be tasked with building off the work the previous group has completed. All right, so at the end of this 40 minutes, the collective will have built a common understanding of each of the 4 proven practices, a library of resources and strategies that can be used to support your district and school communities with implementing this aspect of the community school framework. All right, so 10 minutes. We're going to be rotating. Well, y'all ain't going to be rotating groups. The inflection staff will be rotating groups, and you are going to have a nice little conversation and various activities that you'll be participating in for each of the 4 proven practices. So before we break you all off, does anybody have any questions about what we're about to dive into? Well, as a former virtual teacher, silence means compliance, so it means that we must be good to go.
Jennifer. I don't think I was able to assign you to a room.
It's okay. I can hang out here if the rooms are full.
They aren't full. I think because you're the host for some reason, it won't let me assign you to a room.
Okay, I can go wherever you want me to. Where were you planning to take me?
I'm not sure how to
I can join myself. It's okay because I do have access to that.
okay, so whichever room you're in is fine. Um, Ernesto and Deborah, you all should have been assigned a room already. So if you will just go ahead and move into your room.
Eileen, I was assigned a room, but I am gonna skip this part. I need to attend to an item really quick.
Okay.
So if you don't mind me just hanging out in this main room.
Okay. This is gonna take about 40 minutes of your time.
No problem. I can
Okay.
use it. Something just landed on my lap, and I'm part of the RTAC team,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm kind of behind the scenes as well.
Okay.
And I just have to let out my students, but they're getting out in 6 minutes, and then I'll be like chasing them around for a little while. So do you want me to come back here afterwards?
If you want to just jump into wherever you were assigned, that'd be fine because then the inflection.
Can you tell me how to do that from this point?
I can assign you to a room after you get back.
Perfect. Okay, then I'll be back as fast as I can get all the kids off campus.
I get it. No worries. We all get it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. For those of you all who just came out of your breakout rooms, which room were you in so I can place you back into them? Okay, I will place you into room 1 again. Yeah, I think Elise was mistaken. Yeah, let me see if I can move you all back. Thank you. I might have to move you to another room to move you back into room 1. So just give me a second. Oops. Okay, that should be correct now. Do you need to be placed back into a room? Irma, just let me know if you need to be placed back into a room. I know it sounds like there's some confusion going on. I'm sorry. It's supposed to be the inflection team moving about.
Hi, is someone there?
Yes, do you need to be moved into a room?
Yeah, I was in the room with Sandra Lopez.
Me too. I was with Cynthia also, and she told us we were finished, so that's why we left the room.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Let,
So are we
let me move you back into your assigned rooms. Give me one moment. Okay. Irma, I'm gonna have to move you from one room back into room one, since it won't let me just let you rejoin that room. So give me 2 seconds.
It says for me to join room 1. I'm gonna join you.
Yes, join room one. Thank you. So we're in breakout rooms right now. Were you already in a breakout room that I can put you back into? Oh, you're muted right now.
I just came out of the one with the Jamboard. I'm not sure what the lady's name was. It was the third go round.
Was it Michelle, Alexa, or Elise? Do you remember?
Alexa, I believe.
Alexa. That was,
yeah.
and that you were in that last round. Were you in the one with Alexa? Was round?
I was, yeah, that was the one I was in with. Jennifer was in there as well,
okay.
From Monterey.
Let's see, is that room 3? Yes, I see. Okay, let me move you back into room 3.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I'm gonna have to say that was like speed dating, y'all.
Right?
I've never spoke so fast in my entire life.
I'm exhausted. But you know, I loved the conversations, and it was funny that halfway through my sentence I was cut off and jumped into a new group. So it was neat. It was good. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. And Michelle is going to be. Is Michelle back?
Yeah, it looks like she just needs 1 second.
Okay. Well, I hope you had meaningful conversations in your breakout rooms. I know I did as I was seeing all of you come through. And so I really appreciate your engagement, your energy, your understanding, and hopefully you got a lot of little nuggets to take back with you as you begin to implement. We are going to take a quick break because we know that you've been sitting in your meetings and you need a quick stretch break. So we will take 5 minutes to take a quick stretch break, and then we will return and finish off strong the meeting. And we'll be talking about family and community engagement in the second half. So let's take a quick break and be back in 5 minutes. So thank you. Alexa, did you put the timer, or Michelle? All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, you had an opportunity to stretch your legs. Just really quickly in the chat, what is one takeaway from the breakouts that you're taking away with you? Just really quick, one takeaway in the chat from the breakouts. One takeaway from the breakouts. Beautiful. Excellent. Awesome. Meaningful conversations. I think, again, the answers are in the room, and I think we need to keep learning from each other, learning what's working, and also learning what's not working, so we can improve. So I appreciate your conversation and your intentionality. So as we think about our steps, our journey and in our implementation, and we think about these foundational pieces, I think one of the biggest pieces as we continue to really think about how best to implement community schools, and it's very complex, as we all know, and there's many things that again, we want to put into the jar. The foundational pieces really are around our shared identity, our shared purpose, and our collaborative leadership. And many of you have already stated that's where you are really honing in on the sense of purpose and why we're doing what we're doing, why we're doing this kind of work. You're doing a needs and assets assessment, really understanding the community, really understanding our students. All of that is part of that foundation. The second step to that is really setting goals and taking action. And what we mean by setting goals and taking action is really looking at that shared vision for readiness. If we truly understand that shared vision for readiness, what the outcomes that we're trying to achieve with community schools in terms of our students, then we're able to align our work to that shared vision. We're able to say, hey, does this meet our shared vision or not? Does this meet what we're trying to accomplish with our students or not? And so again, you're constantly aligning all of these components and all of these conversations to that outcome that we're trying to achieve. Effective communication is critical. How are we communicating with our different groups as we bring to the table, right? Everybody talked about during our breakouts, bringing the right people to the table in a meaningful way to have meaningful conversations. And so if we're bringing all of the voices and all of the input, all of our educational partners to the table, how are we then communicating outside of that group? How are we communicating with our instructional teams and our wellness teams and our family community engagement teams and our community partners and our families? All of those are part of ensuring that there's clear communication, that there's transparency in the process, and that everybody has ownership in that process. And then the third component in this stage, I would say, is family and community engagement. It is a clear pillar in the 4 pillars of community schools. It is critical in terms of the implication and the application of our framework. And so within that, how are we ensuring and strengthening and really evaluating our systems? So we're going to dig deep into that. But before that, as part of this component, or I would say the step 2, really is the alignment of the LCAP, because a lot of these goals already exist within the LCAP. And so how do we ensure that there's clear alignment with the LCAP, with the SIPs of the SBSA in terms of our schools, that we're aligning all of our initiatives and all of our programs, and also that we're being very strategic with our community partnerships, that our community partnerships are enhancing and working towards our goals that we're trying to achieve. So with that in mind, I want to dig deeper into the family community engagement piece. And so I'm going to put a statement on the board that helps us to reflect and engage in terms of this concept of family community engagement, because I think we all have an understanding, we all have families that we engage with, but what do we mean by really having authentic engagement with our family? So I want you to read the statement. I'm going to read it for you, but I want you to process and think about each of our statements. And then we're going to go through a process. So as we think about this statement, right? The school has implemented robust systems and processes to cultivate family and parent partnerships, and paying close attention to the culturally and linguistically of our families. But the school has implemented robust systems and processes to cultivate family and parent partnerships. When you read that statement, what comes to mind for you? Go ahead and put it in the chat. What comes to mind for you when you read that statement? Yes. Leverage resources, have a diverse team. What comes to mind? how to meet parents where they're at, providing translations, access to educational opportunity, how to connect to marginalized groups. The school has implemented robust systems and processes to cultivate family and parent partnerships. Beautiful. So as we think about this statement, and how we've described it, and I would say and argue that when we think about the intentionality, that we're really focusing in on the systems, okay? Because the systems are the ones that really are sustainable, and how we're building the collective capacity of everybody being responsible for cultivating family and community partnerships. And so really it's about the systems that we have in place and the systems that we are developing within each of our schools, and the intentionality behind that. And many times it includes staff members who oversee or who can engage. Many times it includes ensuring that we understand the languages that our families speak. Again, all of those are part of the system that we're trying to create. So when you think about the ideal and when you think about this statement, how would you rate your current school or the schools you support? So how would you rate your current school or the schools you support as it relates to this statement? Are you a 1, meaning that you're low, you're not quite there yet? Or are you a 4? You really have systems and structures that really support and align to your family and community engagement. So in the chat, go ahead and rate yourself between a 1 and a 4. Are you a 1, meaning that you're not quite there yet, you're struggling to really engage? Maybe you're doing some things, maybe you're a 2, maybe you're a 3, or maybe you're a 4, you're doing amazing work with parents. How would you rate yourselves as it relates to this statement? Excellent. And I love that you put 2.5. So one of the things to think about as you're thinking about your family and community engagement is that self-assessment, to really be reflective about where you are in terms of that range. Okay. So here's the next statement, and then I want you to rate yourselves again. So the next statement is, resources are allocated to prioritize family and community engagement, supporting the vision of readiness, which is what we talked about, the outcomes for students. So resources are allocated to prioritize family and community engagement. So in the chat, go ahead and rate yourselves 1 to 4. As it relates to this statement. Excellent. Again, many 2s, many 3s. And this statement really speaks to the work that many of you are doing as it relates to the LCAP, your SPSA, your CIVSA, your aligning to resources like Title I, Title III, all of those pieces in terms of finding the resources that are going to allow you to continue the work. The third statement, here's the third statement. The third statement really is, the school has established effective systems to foster partnerships and community-based organizations, ensuring all students attain outcomes aligned to the vision for readiness. So as it relates to this statement, again, effective systems to foster partnerships with community-based organizations. So how would you rate your school, the schools you support at this moment? How would you rate your schools? Excellent. So as you can see, there's a lot more ones in this statement, okay? And it's exactly where you need to be. And so the idea is, as you think about your systems and as you think about your implementation, what are some of the structures that you may consider in terms of building partnerships? Because partnerships is going to be what's going to sustain the work that you're doing. And so again, partnerships are critical. So as you're thinking about it, what are those actions? What are those processes? What are those structures? What are those systems that you will be working with and establishing in building those partnerships? So it's critical for sustainability. And number 4, existing partnerships underscore the intrinsic and indispensable value of family parent community based collaboration, serving all students effectively. So in this case, we currently have partnerships, existing partnerships that critically already do that. So when it relates to existing partnerships, how would you rate yourselves 1 to 4, again, in terms of your sites or the sites you support? Excellent. I think we have a lot more variation in this one because, again, one of the things that I think in terms of a shift, part of the shift has to happen with collaboration. And so as we think about how do we build more the understanding and the value, it really goes to building capacity and understanding. And so that comes with time and that comes with engagement. And so being very intentional of that engagement is going to be important in terms of building that community and building that understanding. And so as we close, I hope that these statements can be used as you go back to your sites to be thinking about how do we increase, how do we improve, how do we ensure family and community engagement is a priority, and using these statements as leverage for having the right conversations. It's going to be very, very important, not only that you do an inventory of what you currently have, but that you do an inventory of where you're going and what you want to accomplish. What are the goals? How are we going to get to that 4? How are we going to get to that transformation, right? As we're looking to our family and community engagement. Okay. So hopefully this allowed for the framing. This allowed for the initial conversation and really to set your goals for moving forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Elise to close us up. Elise?
All right, folks, go ahead and scan that QR code. You can take out your phones. We really are big on feedback as we're creating these processes. We want to make sure that we're meeting your needs and communicating in the way that works for you. And so please go ahead and scan that QR code. It's a really quick survey that just lets us know how we're doing and helps us to gather information to be able to get better for next time. And I believe there will be a link in the chat as well. Oh, there you go.
And then we have the next one.
And this next link that's in the chat is for our upcoming crowdsource that we have coming up on Thursday at 4 o'clock, and it's on family and community engagement. And so if you are like, this isn't enough time, I need a little bit of a deeper dive, we're actually going to be highlighting some folks from Anaheim Union High School District and looking at their specific strategies, processes, that they've implemented in terms of family and community engagement. So not just looking at what they've done, but really actionable things that you can do and take away no matter where you are on your community schools journey, on your family and community engagement journey. So even if you can't attend, I know that you all are community school teams. So feel free to take that link and send it out to your team to see if someone can attend. And then also RSVPing on that link will allow you to get access to the family and community engagement resources and slides that are talked about. So even if you can't check it out, you'll be able to have access to that. Alexa, anything I'm missing on the crowdsource?
You got it.
Okay, and that last link in the chat is the Enable room that has all of the resources that we're talking about. So if you're in my session, in my group, and you're looking for that Jamboard activity, it's in there. A copy of all of our slides for today is in there as well. And again, with that Enable room, feel free. All you need to do is log in with your email, and you can send that to a member of your team that wasn't able to be here today as well, so they can have access to those resources.
Thank you, Elise. Well, this brings us to the closure. Again, I want to thank the Monterey County Office of Education, RTAC. Yay! Thank you for all your support and guidance and everything that you are doing to support our schools with the implementation of community schools. I want to thank all of you for spending this afternoon with us. Hopefully this was helpful. You were able to take away some resources, maybe get some clarity in terms of your implementation. And also, hopefully you've been in the first one and the second one, and you'll be back in the third one as we dig deeper into the implementation as it relates to our classrooms and our focus on students. So again, with that, again, thank you for being here. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you at the next workshop. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.